The alien ships moved through space like silent shadows. They had been traveling for months, but their journey really began 100 years ago. Deep in the dark corners of space, far from Earth, the Zephyrian Empire had been planning something. Big War Commander Thexnelor stood on the bridge of his massive ship. He was tall, even for his kind, with gray skin that looked like metal. His forearms moved across the control panels as he checked the fleet one more time. 12,000 ships followed behind him, each one bigger than any building humans had ever made. "Report," he said to his officer. "All ships ready, Commander. Our warriors have trained for this day their entire lives." Thexnelor nodded. He remembered when this all started, back when he was just a young soldier. The Zephyrian leaders had decided that Earth was perfect for their people. It had water, good air, and land that could grow their food. There was just one problem. Humans lived there. So they began to study. Not just for a few years, but for an entire century. They learned everything about humans they could find. They watched human wars through their spy satellites. They recorded every battle, every tactic, every weapon humans had ever used. The Zephyrian scientists built huge training centers on their home world. These centers looked exactly like Earth cities. They had copies of New York, London, Tokyo, and hundreds of other places. Zephyrian soldiers practiced fighting in these fake cities every single day. They learned about human guns and how they worked. They studied human tanks, jets, and missiles. Their engineers built armor that could stop any human weapon. Their scientists created energy shields that could protect their ships from nuclear bombs. But they did not just copy human weapons. The Zephyrians made their own tools of war that were much better. Their guns could shoot through thick metal walls. Their ships could move faster than anything humans had built. Their soldiers wore special suits that made them stronger than 10 humans put together. In the training centers, Zephyrian soldiers fought against robots that acted like human soldiers. These robots knew every fighting style humans had ever used. They could copy the tactics of famous human generals like Napoleon and George Washington. The Zephyrian soldiers learned to beat all of them. Young Zephyrian warriors studied human history in school. They learned about every war humans had ever fought. They memorized the names of human weapons and military units. They even learned human languages so they could understand radio messages during battle. The older warriors, like Thexnelor, had been training for this their whole lives. They knew human military handbooks better than most human soldiers did. They could predict exactly what humans would do in any battle situation. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans had no idea what was coming. Captain Jake Morrison was flying his patrol ship near the edge of the solar system. It was supposed to be a quiet day. He was checking space junk and looking for asteroids that might hit Earth. Jake had been a Space Force pilot for 8 years. He had never seen anything more exciting than a broken satellite. Most people thought his job was boring, but Jake liked the peace and quiet of space. That morning started like any other. Jake drank his coffee and ran through his normal checks. His ship, the Star Guardian, was small but fast. It had basic weapons and a good radar system, but it was built for patrol work, not fighting. At 0630 hours, Jake's radar screen began to show something strange. At first, it looked like a small group of objects moving toward Earth. Then the screen showed more objects, then more. Within minutes, Jake's radar was completely full of moving dots. "What the hell?" Jake said out loud. He had never seen anything like it. He switched to long-range sensors and pointed them toward the objects. What he saw made his heart stop. Ships. Thousands and thousands of alien ships, all moving in perfect formation toward Earth. Jake grabbed his radio with shaking hands. "Earth Control, this is Patrol 7. I have an emergency situation out here." The E.A voice that answered sounded calm and bored. "Go ahead, Patrol 7, what's your problem?" "I'm looking at what appears to be a large fleet of unknown ships heading toward Earth. I can't even count them all. Maybe 10,000 ships, maybe more." There was a long pause. "Say again, Patrol 7. Did you say 10,000? Ships?" "That's affirmative, Control, and they're not from around here." Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Thexnelor watched as his fleet moved into position. Everything was going exactly as planned. His scouts had already spotted the lone human patrol ship, but they let it go. They wanted the humans to see them coming. Fear would make the humans act predictably, just like their training had taught them. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are receiving many radio signals from Earth. The humans are alerting their military forces." "Good," Thexnalor replied. "Let them prepare their defenses. We have studied every defense they have. We know exactly what they will do." On Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter was woken up by an urgent phone call. As the head of Earth's military forces, she had always known this day might come. Scientists had been saying for years that aliens might exist somewhere in space. "Admiral, we have a code red situation," the voice said. "Unknown fleet approaching Earth. We need you at the command center immediately." Lisa got dressed quickly and drove to the Pentagon. The Situation Room was already full of worried officers and scientists. Large screens showed Jake's patrol ship and the massive alien fleet behind it. "How long do we have?" Lisa asked. Colonel Ben Hayes, her top advisor, looked at the numbers. "Based on their current speed, they'll reach Earth in about 18 hours. What do we know about their capabilities?" "Unknown, Admiral. But based on the size of their ships, we have to assume they're much more advanced than us." Lisa looked at the screen showing the alien fleet. The ships were arranged in perfect military formation, just like human fleets would be. Somehow that made her feel a little better. If they fought like humans, maybe humans could fight back. "Send the alert to every military base on Earth," she ordered. "Full mobilization. If they want to fight, we'll give them one." Neither the humans nor the aliens knew it yet, but in 18 hours everything would change. The Zephyrians thought they were ready for anything humans could do. The humans thought they were about to face their greatest challenge. Both sides were wrong. The alien fleet moved closer to Earth like a giant storm cloud. Each ship was dark gray and covered with weapons that glowed blue in the darkness of space. They flew in perfect rows, just like soldiers marching in a parade. War Commander Thexnalor stood in the control room of his flagship. Around him, hundreds of Zephyrian officers worked at their stations. Everything was going exactly as they had planned for 100 years. "Distance to Earth?" he asked. 6 hours, Commander," his navigator replied. Thexnalor activated the ship's communication system. His voice would reach every Zephyrian warrior in the fleet. Over 2 million soldiers would hear his words. "Warriors of the Empire," he began. "Today we take our place in history. For 100 years we have studied these humans. We know their weapons, we know their tactics, we know their weaknesses." On every ship, Zephyrian soldiers listened to their commander. They wore thick armor that covered their entire bodies. Their weapons could shoot energy beams that could cut through metal like paper. They had trained every day for this moment. "The humans will try to use nuclear weapons against us," Thexnalor continued. "Our shields will stop them. They will send their aircraft to attack us. Our ships are faster and stronger. They will try to fight us on the ground with their tanks and guns. We are better soldiers." The warriors cheered. They had seen the human weapons in their training. Human bullets bounced off their armor like small rocks. Human tanks moved slowly compared to their war machines. Human soldiers were weak compared to Zephyrian strength. "In one day, Earth will belong to the Empire," Thexnalor finished. "Victory is certain." Down on Earth, every military base was busy preparing for war. Soldiers ran to their positions. Pilots climbed into their jets. Crews started their engines. Everyone knew the aliens were coming, but no one knew what to expect. At NORAD, the military command center buried deep inside a mountain, Colonel Ben Hayes was trying to coordinate Earth's defense. The main screen showed the alien fleet getting closer every minute. "Report from all sectors," he ordered. General Amy Rodriguez spoke first. "Marine forces are in position at all major cities. We have 50,000 troops ready for ground combat." Commander Steve Walsh added, "Navy ships are moving to protect coastal areas. All submarines are on alert." General Rick Thompson checked his notes. "Air Force has 800 jets ready to go. Nuclear missiles are armed and targeted." Dr. Helen Park, the scientist who studied alien technology, shook her head. "I don't think our weapons will work against them. Their ships show energy signatures we've never seen before." Colonel Hayes looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were arranged in a pattern he recognized from military school. They're using classic orbital assault formation. It's like they read our own textbook. Lieutenant Katie Brooks was stationed at an observation post in Colorado. She had powerful telescopes pointed at the sky, watching the alien fleet as it got closer to Earth. Her job was to report everything she saw. "Control, this is Observation Post 7, she radioed to NORAD. "I can see the alien ships clearly now. They're moving in formation exactly like our own fleet manual describes." "Describe what you see, Lieutenant," Colonel Hayes responded. "Sir, they have heavy ships in the center, lighter ships on the outside, support vessels in the rear. It's textbook, perfect, like they studied our tactics and copied them exactly." At the same observation post, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez was supposed to be fixing a broken radio antenna. Danny was not a combat soldier. His job was maintaining equipment and keeping things running. But he had served 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan before taking this maintenance job. Danny listened to Katie's radio reports while he worked. Something bothered him about what she was saying. The aliens were following human military tactics too closely. "Hey, Lieutenant," he called over to Katie. "You said they're flying in perfect formation, right?" "That's correct, Sergeant. Perfect textbook formation." Danny thought about his time in Afghanistan. "You know what we used to do when the enemy was too well organized? We'd do something they didn't expect, something that didn't make sense by the book." Katie looked at him curiously. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if they know our tactics so well, maybe we should throw out the tactics." Meanwhile, in space, the Zephyrian fleet prepared for the first phase of their attack. War Commander Thexnalor reviewed his battle plans one more time. Everything was perfect. "Begin transmission to Earth," he ordered. The message was broadcast, in perfect English, to every radio and television on Earth. Thexnalor's voice was calm and confident. "People of Earth, I am War Commander Thexnalor of the Zephyrian Empire. Your planet has been selected for colonization. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If you surrender, you will be relocated to designated areas where you will be allowed to live peacefully." The message continued. "If you do not surrender, we will take your planet by force. We have studied your military capabilities for 100 years. Resistance is futile. You cannot win against us." All over Earth, people heard the message. Some panicked and tried to run. Others got angry and prepared to fight. Military leaders like Admiral Carter and Colonel Hayes listened carefully to every word. "He sounds pretty confident," General Rodriguez observed. "Too confident, Admiral," Carter replied. "No military commander should be that sure of victory before the battle starts." Dr. Helen Park was analyzing the alien transmission. "The language is perfect. Grammar, pronunciation, even the military terms. They've studied us very thoroughly." Colonel Hayes was thinking about what Lieutenant Brooks and Sergeant Rodriguez had reported. The aliens knew human tactics perfectly. Maybe too perfectly. What if their strength is also their weakness, he said out loud. "What do you mean?" Admiral Carter asked. "They've spent 100 years learning to fight us, but they learned to fight the US they could study and understand. What if we don't fight that way?" At observation posts around the world, soldiers were watching the alien ships get closer. The ships were beautiful in a scary way, with smooth curves and glowing weapons. They moved through space like they owned it. In Tokyo, Captain Yuki Tanaka watched from a rooftop. In London, Sergeant Marco Williams checked his equipment. In Sydney, Lieutenant Emma Johnson prepared her communications gear. All around the world, humans were getting ready for the biggest fight in their history, but none of them were planning to fight by the book. The Zephyrian ships reached Earth's outer atmosphere. War Commander Thexnalor checked his chronometer. Humans had 30 minutes left to surrender. "No response to our surrender demand, Commander," his communications officer reported. "As expected," Thexnalor replied. "Humans are too proud to surrender without fighting. We will show them the futility of resistance." He activated the fleet communication system. "All ships prepare for Phase 1, target military installations only. We want the planet intact." The first wave of Zephyrian attack ships separated from the main fleet. Each ship carried 50 elite warriors. They had trained for urban combat, tank battles, and infantry warfare. They knew every human weapon and every human tactic. What they did not know was that humans were about to stop using human tactics entirely. Down on Earth, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez finished fixing the radio antenna. He looked up at the sky where alien ships were beginning to glow as they entered the atmosphere. "You know what, Lieutenant?" he said to Katie. "I think it's time to stop following the maintenance manual too." The alien ships came down from the sky like falling stars. War Commander Thex Naylor had chosen exactly 8 a.m. Eastern Time to begin the attack. His research showed this was when human military forces would be most alert, but also most predictable. From his command ship high above Earth, Thex Naylor watched as his carefully planned invasion began. The first wave of attack ships headed straight for military bases around the world. Each ship carried 50 Zephyrian warriors in advanced combat armor. Phase 1 initiated, his tactical officer reported. All attack ships proceeding to targets. Thex Naylor nodded with satisfaction. Everything was happening exactly as his battle plans predicted. Human radar systems were tracking the ships just as expected. Human jets were scrambling to intercept, just as their military doctrine required. Human aircraft approaching from the southeast, the radar officer announced. "Destroy them," Thex Naylor ordered calmly. The alien fighters were faster and more powerful than any human aircraft. Within minutes, the first wave of human jets was shot down. The pilots never had a chance. At Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez watched the alien ships land on the runway. He was hiding behind a maintenance building holding a wrench in his hand. This was not where a maintenance worker was supposed to be during an alien invasion. The first Zephyrian dropship opened with a loud hiss. 50 alien warriors marched out in perfect formation. They moved like they had practiced this exact scenario, thousands of times, which they had. The alien soldiers wore gray armor that covered their entire bodies. They carried energy weapons that glowed with blue light. Their leader pointed at the base's main buildings and gave orders in their own language. Danny watched as the aliens spread out in a textbook military formation. They moved with discipline and precision, just like human soldiers would during a base assault. Each warrior knew exactly where to go and what to do. "Just like the manual says," Danny muttered to himself. That's when he realized something important. These aliens were following human military tactics perfectly. They had studied how human soldiers were supposed to fight, and now they were using those same methods. Danny looked around the maintenance area. He saw forklifts, bulldozers, and other heavy equipment used to maintain the airfield. None of these machines were weapons, but Danny had an idea that no military manual had ever described. Lieutenant Katie Brooks was still at her observation post, reporting what she saw to NORAD Command. Through her telescope, she watched alien ships landing at military bases across the region. "Control, the aliens are using standard assault tactics," she reported. "They're securing landing zones, establishing perimeters, and advancing on strategic targets in organized units." "Copy that, Lieutenant. Any sign of unusual weapons or tactics?" "Negative, sir. They're fighting exactly like we would fight if we were invading a military base." At NORAD, Colonel Hayes was receiving similar reports from around the world. The alien invasion was proceeding with military precision, but it was military precision that followed human rules. "They're doing everything by our book," he told Admiral Carter. "It's almost like they're more disciplined than our own troops." Back at Peterson Air Force Base, Danny Rodriguez made a decision that would change everything. He climbed into the cab of a large bulldozer used for clearing snow from runways. The machine was bright yellow and very loud when he started the engine. The Zephyrian warriors heard the noise and turned to see what was happening. Their training had prepared them for human soldiers with guns, tanks with cannons, and aircraft with missiles. Nobody had trained them to fight a maintenance worker driving a bulldozer. Danny put the bulldozer in gear and drove straight toward the alien formation. The machine was slow but very heavy. It pushed aside everything in its path as it headed for the confused aliens. The Zephyrian squad leader barked orders at his warriors. They raised their energy weapons and fired at the approaching bulldozer. The blue beams hit the thick metal blade and bounced off harmlessly. "What is this human doing?" the squad leader wondered. This was not in any of their tactical scenarios. Humans were supposed to take cover and return fire with their own weapons. They were not supposed to charge directly at superior forces using construction equipment. Danny crashed into the alien formation like a bowling ball hitting pins. The aliens scattered in all directions, their perfect military discipline broken by a maintenance worker who had never read their tactical manual. Within seconds, the organized Zephyrian squad had become a confused group of individual warriors, trying to avoid getting run over by heavy machinery. Their formation was destroyed, their communication was broken, and their tactical advantage was gone. Danny jumped out of the bulldozer and grabbed the nearest tool he could find, which happened to be a large wrench. The aliens were trained to fight human soldiers with military weapons. They had no specific training for fighting mechanics with hand tools. Lieutenant Brooks watched this through her telescope and immediately radioed NORAD. "Control, you're not going to believe this. A maintenance worker just destroyed an entire alien squad using a bulldozer. Say again, Lieutenant." The aliens had a perfect tactical formation. Then Sergeant Rodriguez drove a bulldozer right through the middle of them. Now they're running around like confused children. News of Danny's unconventional victory spread through military communication networks around the world. Within minutes, soldiers at other bases were hearing about the maintenance worker who had defeated aliens using construction equipment. In New York City, pizza delivery driver Marco Williams heard the news on his radio while making a delivery. Marco had served in the Army before becoming a delivery driver, so he understood what had happened at Peterson Air Force Base. When alien ships landed in Central Park, Marco was ready. Instead of running away like other civilians, he got on his motorcycle and did something completely unexpected. The Zephyrian warriors had studied human urban warfare extensively. They knew about police tactics, SWAT team procedures, and military, urban combat methods. What they had not studied was pizza delivery drivers who knew every shortcut, tunnel, and back alley in the city. Marco led a squad of pursuing aliens into the subway system, where their heavy armor and energy weapons became disadvantages instead of strengths. The narrow tunnels and maze-like passages turned their advanced technology into liabilities. In Tokyo, office worker Yuki Tanaka had been watching the news when alien ships appeared over her city. The aliens were using predictable landing patterns and following logical tactical procedures for controlling civilian populations. Yuki realized that the aliens expected humans to panic and run in predictable directions. Instead, she organized thousands of people to move in completely random patterns throughout the city. The alien tactical computers, programmed to predict human behavior, could not process the chaos. Back at NORAD, Colonel Hayes was receiving reports from around the world. "Sir, we're getting strange reports from multiple locations. Civilians are defeating alien forces using unconventional methods." "Define unconventional," Admiral Carter requested. "A taxi driver in London trapped an alien squad in a parking garage. A janitor in Los Angeles defeated aliens using a floor buffer. A barista in Seattle organized coffee shop workers into an intelligence network." Dr. Helen Park looked up from her computer. "The aliens' tactical systems are designed to counter organized military resistance. They can't adapt to random illogical actions." War Commander Thexnelor was receiving similar reports from his field commanders. His perfect invasion was falling apart, but not because of superior human military technology or tactics. "Sir," his communications officer reported. "Squad leader, Vextiller reports that his unit was defeated by a human operating, I'm not sure how to translate this, a machine for moving dirt? What about the Tokyo landing force? They report that human civilians are moving in patterns that make no tactical sense. Our troops cannot predict their movements or secure the area." For the first time in 100 years of planning, Thexnelor felt uncertain. His warriors were the best trained soldiers in the galaxy. His weapons were superior to anything humans possessed. His tactics were based on extensive study of human warfare, but humans were not fighting the war he had prepared for. Time: 4 minutes and 12 seconds since invasion began. The news about Sergeant Danny Rodriguez spread faster than the alien invasion itself. All around the world, humans were learning that the mighty alien warriors could be defeated by doing things that made no sense, according to military rules. HFY Peterson Air Force Base. Danny had somehow gathered a small army of maintenance workers, janitors, food service employees, and other non-combat personnel. They were using floor buffers, lawnmowers, and industrial cleaning equipment to chase alien soldiers around the base. "Danny, this is crazy," shouted Pete Williams, a janitor who was now wielding a pressure washer like it was some kind of weapon. "We're supposed to be hiding in the bunker." "Hiding is what they expect us to do," Danny replied, driving a riding lawnmower in pursuit of 3 confused Zephyrian warriors. "These alien guys studied our military tactics for 100 years, but nobody studies janitors and maintenance workers." The Zephyrian squad leader who had first encountered Danny was now radioing his commanders in a panic. "Human resistance forces are using unknown weapons and tactics. Request immediate backup." "Describe the unknown weapons," came the reply. I don't know how to describe them. Machines for cutting grass, devices for cleaning floors, equipment for moving heavy objects. They are not in our combat database." Back on the command ship, War Commander Thex Nalor was receiving increasingly strange reports from his ground forces around the world. In London, taxi driver Marcus Brown had used his knowledge of the city's confusing street layout to lead alien troops into a maze of narrow alleys where their large armor and formation tactics were useless. The aliens could not coordinate their attacks in the twisted old streets that Marcus had been driving through for 20 years. "The human knows passages that do not appear on our maps," reported the confused Zephyrian field commander in London. "Our tactical computers cannot calculate optimal routes through this terrain." In Los Angeles, custodian Carlos Martinez had organized the overnight cleaning crews from 50 office buildings. They were using service elevators, maintenance tunnels, and supply closets to move around the city in ways the alien tactical planners had never considered. "Human forces are moving through the city using infrastructure we did not know existed," came another report. "They appear and disappear without using main transportation routes." The alien invasion forces had trained to fight human armies that moved predictably along roads, attacked from established positions, and followed recognized battle patterns. They had not trained to fight cleaning crews who knew every hidden passage and back entrance in the city. In Seattle, barista Emma Johnson had done something even more unexpected. Instead of fighting the aliens directly, she had organized all the coffee shops in the city into a communication network. Baristas, who already knew everyone in their neighborhoods, became intelligence agents reporting alien movements. "The tall, dark roast is moving toward Pike Place," Emma radioed to her network, which was her code for alien troops heading to the market district. The Zephyrian communications specialists had spent decades learning to intercept and decode human military radio traffic. They had no idea how to interpret messages about coffee orders and pastry deliveries. At NORAD, Colonel Hayes was trying to understand what was happening around the world. The alien invasion was falling apart, but not because of any organized military resistance. "Sir, we're receiving reports that civilian resistance is more effective than military resistance," reported General Rodriguez. "Wherever our troops try to fight the aliens using standard tactics, we're losing. But wherever civilians are doing unpredictable things, the aliens are retreating." Admiral Carter looked at the tactical displays showing alien forces around the world. Many of the red dots representing enemy units were now flashing, indicating they were in retreat or had lost communication with their command. "How is this possible?" she asked. "These aliens have superior technology, better weapons, and they've studied our military for a century." Dr. Helen Park had been analyzing the reports from field units. "Admiral, I think I understand what's happening. The aliens have overprepared. They know exactly what we should do in every military situation, but they can't handle it when we don't do what we should do." Colonel Hayes nodded. "It's like studying for a test so hard that you only know how to answer the questions you studied, but you panic when the teacher asks something different." War Commander Thex Nalor was experiencing something he had never felt before in his long military career: complete confusion. His invasion force was the most powerful military unit in Zephyrian history. His warriors were better trained and better equipped than any human soldiers. But they were losing to pizza delivery drivers and janitors. "Sub-Commander Vex Thaler, report on overall invasion status," he ordered. His second-in-command checked the tactical displays with growing concern. "Sir, 43% of our ground forces are requesting immediate extraction. 27% have lost tactical cohesion. 18% have stopped responding to commands entirely. What are they reporting as the cause of mission failure?" "Sir, the reports are difficult to categorize. Humans are using tactics that do not exist in our database. They are employing equipment that is not classified as military hardware. Their actions do not follow logical patterns." Thexanalor had spent his entire life studying warfare. He understood strategy, tactics, logistics, and combat psychology, but he had never encountered an enemy that refused to follow the basic rules of military engagement. On Earth, word was spreading through social media, television, and radio that ordinary people were successfully fighting off alien invaders by being creative and unpredictable. In Chicago, a group of food truck operators had coordinated their movements to confuse alien patrols. The aliens expected humans to flee from combat zones, but the food trucks kept moving in random patterns, selling lunch to anyone who wanted it, including confused alien soldiers who had never encountered the concept of mobile food service. In Miami, a beach lifeguard named Tony Rodriguez had organized surfers and beach volleyball players into a resistance network. They were using jet skis, surfboards, and beach umbrellas as tools for hit-and-run attacks that made no tactical sense to alien commanders. "The humans are using recreational equipment as military hardware," reported one bewildered Zephyrian officer. "They attack with devices designed for water sports, then disappear into areas we classified as non-strategic recreational zones." The pattern was the same everywhere. When human military forces fought the aliens using proper tactics, they lost. When ordinary humans did unexpected things, they won. In Phoenix, a mariachi band had somehow convinced alien troops that their music was a form of psychological warfare. The confused aliens had retreated rather than risk exposure to what they assumed was an advanced sonic weapon. In Detroit, auto mechanics were defeating alien technology using tools designed to repair cars. The aliens' sophisticated armor and weapons were breaking down under assault from tire irons, hydraulic jacks, and welding torches. War Commander Thexnalor made a decision that no Zephyrian commander had ever made in the history of their empire. He activated the fleet-wide emergency communication system. All Zephyrian forces begin immediate tactical withdrawal to ships. Prepare for emergency departure from Earth orbit. His officers stared at him in shock. "Sir, we cannot retreat from inferior opponents," Subcommander Vextaler protested. "It would be the greatest military disgrace in our history." "Our tactical systems have failed," Thexnalor replied grimly. "These humans do not fight wars the way wars are supposed to be fought. We cannot defeat an enemy we cannot understand." On Earth, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez was still leading his army of maintenance workers against the alien forces at Peterson Air Force Base. He had no idea that his bulldozer charge had started a chain reaction that was defeating an invasion force that had trained for 100 years. "Hey, Pete," he called to the janitor with the pressure washer. "I think those alien guys are heading back to their ship." "Does that mean we won?" Danny looked around at his unlikely army of custodians, groundskeepers, and food service workers. "I think it means we didn't lose by doing what we were supposed to do." Time: 5 minutes and 47 seconds since invasion began. At exactly 8:06 a.m. Eastern Time, War Commander Thexnalor gave the order that ended the shortest invasion in galactic history. His massive fleet began moving away from Earth as quickly as their engines could carry them. All around the planet, Zephyrian warriors were running back to their ships. They had been trained to fight the greatest human military forces, but no amount of training had prepared them to fight maintenance workers with garden tools. At Peterson Air Force Base, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez watched the alien dropships lift off from the runway. His army of janitors, mechanics, and food service workers stood around looking confused about what had just happened. "Did we actually win?" asked Pete Williams, still holding his pressure washer. Danny looked at the retreating alien ships and scratched his head. 6 minutes ago, he had been fixing a radio antenna. Now he was apparently a war hero who had helped defeat an alien invasion. "I guess we did," he said. though I'm not exactly sure how. Lieutenant Katie Brooks was still at her observation post, watching through her telescope as the alien fleet regrouped in space above Earth. She radioed the situation to NORAD Command. Control, all alien ships are withdrawing. They're moving away from Earth at high speed. It looks like they're in full retreat. At NORAD, Admiral Carter and Colonel Hayes watched the tactical displays as thousands of red dots representing alien ships moved away from Earth. After 100 years of alien preparation and 6 minutes of actual fighting, the invasion was over. I need a full report on what just happened, Admiral Carter said. How did we win a war against a superior alien force in 6 minutes? Colonel Hayes was reading reports from military bases around the world. Admiral, it appears that our most effective resistance came from non-military personnel acting outside of standard military doctrine. Explain that in simple terms, Colonel. The aliens won every battle where we fought them the way we're supposed to fight. They lost every battle, where ordinary people did unexpected things. Dr. Helen Park had been analyzing the alien withdrawal patterns. Admiral, their fleet movements suggest they're not just retreating temporarily. They're leaving the solar system entirely. This appears to be a complete abandonment of their invasion. On the Zephyrian command ship, War Commander Thex Naylor was preparing his final report to the Empire's High Command. This was the most difficult message he had ever written. High Command, the Earth invasion has been terminated. Mission status, complete failure. Reason, human tactical unpredictability, exceeds all known parameters. He paused, trying to find words to explain what had happened to his perfectly planned invasion. Recommendation: avoid all future contact with human civilization. This species represents a tactical threat that cannot be countered through conventional military preparation. Sub-Commander Vextiller was reviewing the battle reports from ground forces around Earth. Sir, I still do not understand how we lost. Our weapons were superior. Our armor was stronger. Our tactics were more advanced. That is exactly why we lost, Thex Naylor replied. We prepared to fight the humans we could understand. We never considered that they might refuse to be understandable. Back on Earth, news of the alien retreat was spreading around the world. Television stations, radio broadcasts, and internet sites were all trying to explain what had happened. In Seattle, barista Emma Johnson was being interviewed by news reporters about her coffee shop communication network. So you defeated alien communications by talking about coffee orders? The reporter asked. We didn't defeat anything, Emma explained. We just talked to each other the way we always talk to each other. The aliens couldn't understand what we were saying because we weren't saying anything they had studied. In New York City, pizza delivery driver Marco Williams was getting similar attention from the media. You led alien soldiers into subway tunnels using your motorcycle? I was just taking my usual shortcut, Marco said. I know every tunnel and back alley in this city because that's my job. The aliens didn't know about delivery driver routes because they only studied military maps. Around the world, ordinary people were discovering they had played a part in defeating the most advanced alien military force in the galaxy. The stories were all similar. When people did their normal jobs in their normal ways, the aliens couldn't handle it. In Detroit, auto mechanic Carlos Lopez had defeated alien battle armor using the same tools he used to fix cars every day. In Phoenix, mariachi musician Juan Martinez had caused alien troops to retreat just by playing music the way he had for 20 years. Admiral Carter called an emergency meeting of all Earth's military leaders. The conference room was filled with generals, admirals, and defense ministers from around the world, all trying to understand what had happened. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we need to completely rethink our understanding of military strategy. Today, we learned that our greatest strength is not our weapons or our training. It's our ability to be unpredictable. General Rodriguez raised her hand. Admiral, how do we train for unpredictability? How do we prepare for situations where the best strategy is to not have a strategy? Colonel Hayes had been thinking about this question. Maybe we don't train for it. Maybe unpredictability only works when it's genuine. The moment we try to plan it, it stops being unpredictable. Dr. Helen Park had analyzed the entire 6-minute conflict. The aliens' mistake was thinking they could study chaos and then control it. But chaos can't be controlled. That's what makes it chaos. At Peterson Air Force Base, Sergeant Danny Rodriguez was back to fixing radio antennas. His brief career as a military hero was over, and he was fine with that. But he had kept the alien helmet that had fallen off one of the warriors during his bulldozer charge. "Danny, you realize you're probably going to be famous for this, right?" Lieutenant Brooks asked. "Famous for driving a bulldozer into a bunch of confused aliens? I don't know if that's the kind of famous I want to be." "You saved the planet," Danny looked at the helmet sitting on his workbench. "I fixed a problem using the tools I had available. Same thing I do every day. The aliens made it complicated by overthinking it." In the months that followed, human military doctrine was quietly revised. New sections were added to strategy manuals around the world. They were called things like the Maintenance Protocol and Adaptive Chaos Theory and Non-Standard Response Procedures. But the real lesson was simpler than any military manual could capture. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to stop trying to solve it the way you're supposed to. The Zephyrian Empire, meanwhile, began a new research project. This time they were not trying to understand human military strategy or human technology. They were trying to understand human psychology, creativity, and the dangerous unpredictability that made Earth's inhabitants the most formidable opponents they had ever encountered. But they approached this new study with the same systematic, methodical, predictable methods they had always used. They built new training centers and created new simulation programs. They studied human chaos the same way they had studied human warfare. They never realized that the moment you try to systematically study chaos, it stops being chaotic. On Earth, life returned to normal. Danny Rodriguez went back to fixing things. Emma Johnson went back to making coffee. Marco Williams went back to delivering pizza. They had saved the world by doing their jobs, and now they continued doing their jobs because that was what they did. But every time they looked at the sky, they knew something important. If you ever need to defend your planet from an invasion, the best plan might be to throw out all your plans. Because the aliens had spent 100 years learning to fight humans. They had just never learned to fight humanity. Time since invasion began, 6 minutes, 0 seconds. Mission status: complete human victory through complete alien confusion. The war was over before it began, and it ended the way it started, with nobody really understanding what was happening.